Welcome to the show, my friend, Dr. Ren.
Hi, Christine.
I am so excited to have you on the show and introduce you to my community. Like I told you before we started recording, we are coming up on our 1 year anniversary of French, our 1 year friend anniversary. Is that what they call it? I don't know.
Galiversary, we'll just keep it with the theme for
Yeah.
Galentine's.
There you go. There you go. And so you and I met at Lauren Lahav's Own Your Worth conference in March of 2024. And I explained to you, and it was just too good not to have in our recording before you introduce yourself. But when I met this incredible woman, it was like a spaceship being drawn. I was like this little tiny spaceship being like drawn into her orbit. And it was irresistible because she is literally irresistible. This woman, I love you. You inspire me. And I'm very thankful that you are joining our show today.
Thank you for the invite. You know, someone wants to say hi. It's our 1 year friend Galiversary, but it's you and King Lou's. He hears your voice. He wants to say hi.
Oh,
King Lou,
yes. She's a fur mama, as you know from my intro. And so let's introduce King Louie.
the 16th. He's our chief happiness officer.
Hi, baby.
Hi. I
Hi,
just
sweetheart.
I'm also fostering a baby, as you can see. He was on death row at the shelter, and I can't imagine a pup under 10 pounds getting put to death. So I stepped in and I'm fostering him. I am not adopting another dog. I already have three, but we're going to give him a second chance at life because don't we all deserve a second chance, even
Ooh.
after this
Yes,
happens?
even after he bites you. Oh, what a perfect way to open up our podcast because this woman is generous. She is all love. And you have a story that is so inspiring. So, why don't you just take a moment and I'm just going to let you introduce yourself to our community in whatever way you feel led.
Awesome. Well, hello to the community. I'm so excited to be here. I am Dr. Renaisa Anthony, but my friends who knew me long before all the degrees behind my name, I'm just Ren. I'm Ren from Detroit, born premature. I came into the world early, ready to set things on fire and ablaze, as Pinkola Estes says. What is it? That book called Women Who Run with Wolves. And for
Mm.
me, it was like, how do you just make a difference in the world? And I think making that difference had to start with my own world. And so, how could I create
Mm.
a new world for me, given the environment and circumstances I was born into? But they didn't define where my ultimate destiny led.
Wow, I'm taking notes. I'm like, I already have so many questions. So, I've been to Detroit and that's not an easy place to grow up.
No, not at all. It's not an easy place to grow up, and it's definitely not an easy place to grow up when you are in one of the five top impoverished zip codes. So I was born into a single parent home, just the stereotypical story. And I like to tell people, like, you have to understand why circumstances are the way they are. It's not that people don't want better for themselves, it's a long historical context as to how
Mm.
communities end up the way they are, and ultimately that children are often impacted. And so I had a mom who did the best she could. She worked multiple jobs. So I was a latchkey kid. Do you remember those? And like I'm a
Oh, that was
age
me.
myself, but
No,
a
no,
latchkey
no, because
kid.
it's well, I think that, if you don't mind, I'm just going to quickly address that because I think it's really important if people aren't familiar with it, what it means to be a latchkey kid. Because I was a latchkey kid, meaning that we came in home and we opened our own latches and we walked in and we got our own snacks. We took care of our own homework. Like we were in the 70s and 80s. I don't know when you were born. I don't know, presume anything, but we were very self-sufficient, which I personally think, as much as I wouldn't choose it or want that for my children, has really helped me be pretty damn strong.
Pretty damn resilient. So what does
Hmm.
Tony say? He says, if I had or came from the family I wish, I wouldn't be the man that I am proud to be today. And that's so true for me.
Mm,
If I would have come from, I always thought I wanted to come from like, why don't we have a big house? Why this month do we now have a phone? And the next month we don't have heat. And the next month we don't have lights. And I grew up seeing people being put out of their homes and going through like the most embarrassing thing. And my mom's going to kill me. But we would drive around and my mom would go to certain communities and she'd be like, that looks like good trash. And we'd be going through people's like stuff they just put on the
mm,
side of the curb, like just to get furniture, or people would get put out of their homes. And that was a constant recurring thing. And for
wow.
me, Detroit public schools, it wasn't hard to get some decent grades because you were in a class for 50 minutes and teachers were spending most of their time doing disciplinary action. And
Mm,
I liked school, but I liked school because it was an escape. You know, it was a place that I could go, that I felt safe, where I could get food, where I felt like I got worth. And so for teachers out there, like you really do make a difference because those
mm,
teachers are the ones who believed in me before I even believed in myself. And then I got really lucky at 13. This school that I sit on the board of called Piney Woods, and it's in Mississippi. They had like this endowment, and they find and recruit kids that are high potential, but from really like low resourced environments. And so I got pretty much a full scholarship. I think it was like $500 or so for my mom to send me a year. And that meant I got 3 meals. I was safe on a campus. I was exposed to new things. And that's when education was like, set as a way to not just shift my narrative, but to shift the world. And so that's kind
right.
of my humble beginnings. But that was so long ago. It's still a part of me. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for that experience because I know that I'm resilient, I'm adaptable. You can put me in any environment. I've lived in 14 different places and I'm pretty good at like dropping my feet wherever they are and acclimating
Mm.
really quickly and running with it.
I love that. You said a number of things that I wanted to highlight. Um, it's there was something in you that already was drawn to school. And it wasn't just the academics, but it was the safety, it was the structure, it was the food, it was the basic needs, but there was a flame inside you that clearly somebody saw this potential that was untapped, and you were given this beautiful gift of grace at the age of 13, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful gift and it comes with its own challenges too. So anyone who's ever gone to, like, I say, oh yeah, I went to boarding school, and then people think like, ooh, she was really wealthy, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it's not kind of boarding school. And if you haven't come to Piney Woods, you should come visit. We definitely need some support down there. But the reality is that it was safe. And what's most
Mm,
important, it was a place where I felt loved. School
wow.
was a place where I felt loved. I wasn't a difficult child. So the teachers were very nice and loving to me. When I got to
Mm.
Piney Woods, they were very loving and believed in me. And just God, the universe has always sent people to me, including you. Like, thank
Oh,
you. Thank you for being the person who stepped in and said, hey, if you need an emergency contact or another one, like, I got you. God has
yes.
always sent me people who had my back, who've loved me, who've believed in me before I could believe in myself.
That's really powerful. And I want our community to hear that, because sometimes women have a tendency to, and I've raised a lot of them, so we have a tendency to focus on what we don't have and miss what's beautiful right in front of us. And there are some days where the only beauty we can find is that we have somebody who's our emergency contact. We have somebody that we can call, or we look in the mirror and we are that somebody, because that's a gift in and of itself. But I'm so interested in this journey of yours, Ren, because I knew about the journey from medical school on, but I didn't know the journey from Detroit to Mississippi. So you were there for how long at Piney Woods?
4 years. I mean,
You
I
were
think
there for 4 years.
13 is a sweet age because you're still forming your identity and you're impressionable. but it also comes with I wasn't with my family.
Yeah.
And that was a pro and a con. So being out of the environment definitely made a difference for my life. But at the same time, when I see people, it's hard for me to understand when I meet people who are just like, no, I can't go away to college because I can't leave my family. And I've just never had to deal with that. I've been gone and returning back home since I was 13 years old. So that's just been my experience. I mean, I think you know about the medical school and beyond, but there's so many years beforehand that
Yeah.
got me there. And one of the first identity pieces and shifts I had to make was integrating Dr. Anthony and Renaisa and Ren and little Nene from Detroit,
Mm.
really finding a space for all of them, right? Like we
Wow.
all have multiple personalities. That's not dysfunctional unless you have hallucinations and other things like that. But we all have
That's
different parts of
clinical.
it, right?
Yeah.
And I think it became very clear like Nene was having some challenges with Dr. Anthony. Like, hey, wait a
Mm.
minute. You just showed up on the block. I did all the work. I got her out of Detroit. I got her through all these things that have happened in her life over and over where she's had to be resilient, be resourceful. And then you show up, and that's the only person that you want to show the world. And I realized like all these parts of me have
Mm.
space at the table, and I call on them at different times. So when I go home to Detroit and my family still lives, in that kind of environment, it's really important that I bring very different skills, right? So I'm not going to rent a certain type of car that's going to bring attention to me. I rent, an economy car. I go and meet my family. I know the language. I know how to survive
Mm.
and thrive in that environment. I also know how to survive and thrive in a C suite. I can go into multiple environments and really not just survive, but thrive because I've been able to live in each of them.
I love that. And when you were talking, it reminded me of because I grew up so differently than you. I grew up in the country in Northern Illinois. I'm a farm girl, a chicken farm. Yeah, we had chickens everywhere. I was basically barefoot and had straw between my teeth from the earliest memories. And the challenges of growing up in a small town, especially when you make mistakes or something really bad happens to you. And my childhood was very difficult. I wanted nothing to do with that town. I wanted nothing to do with that background. In fact, it makes me cry a little bit now when I think about it. I literally would go out of my way to drive around my hometown. So I didn't have to go through it for almost 10 years after I graduated. I earned my scholarship. I went to college. I was a badass. I went to law school. I was not going to be that girl anymore. Damn it. I didn't want anything. They couldn't define me. And so it became almost like a rebellion against my past. But I love what you said because I realized, and it didn't take me that long. Well, okay, it might have taken me a decade or so. Okay, that's kind of a long time. But what I realized is that I was rebelling against a beautiful part of me, a girl that survived, a girl that rose from the ashes, a girl that got the scholarship from a high school who didn't even have a track, a girl who went to law school. Like, why was I rejecting that? It was because it was so painful and I needed to work through the pain. But then the beauty came out of that. And I love what you said because there's different parts of us, but we need to honor them, right? Like I honor Christine. I honor little Chris because I was Chris until I went to college.
Nene.
Nene, Chris.
Nene, Chris, I love it.
It was so funny because when we went to my 23 reunions, if I finally got the courage to go back at 20 years, and my husband was like, "It's so weird. Everybody calls you Chris." I'm like, "Yeah," because I went to college and I, like you, wanted to be different, right? And so I started signing Christine, and I never looked back. And the only people that can call me Chris are from that time or older people who tend to shorten names. So. there's
That's
that.
how I know how people know me. If you call me Ren, I know how you know me. If you call me Dr. Ayer, I know how you know me. If you call me Dr. Anthony, if you call me Renaisa, if you call me Nasa, it's different parts of my life. The beauty of it is that neither of us got there overnight, right? And we're
Right.
still on that journey. And
Hmm.
part of it is that there's so much where you came from and where we came from that we deal with internally. And you're like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. Some of that also has to do with the judgment from the world. To be a
Hmm.
lawyer and be in law school, to be a physician in medical school, you got hooded, I got hooded. Ours are green. What color are the hoods for law
We
school?
didn't do hooding.
Then
We just,
you have a like it's this regalia.
yeah, we have I think it's like burgundy and gold, black sash kind of thing. It's not really, that's what you call by hooding. We didn't call it that.
Yeah, it's each society that has like a particular color. Anyway, you can only be hooded by someone who is also a doctorate. So when I tell you
Right.
80% of my class was hooded by their parent. So introducing such and
Oh,
such, hooded by their father, doctor such and such. And
got it.
so being in an environment where most people who become doctors, most people that become lawyers, they've had a lot of stepping stones already. And so they're
Hmm.
standing on the shoulders and the experiences of their parents or grandparents who've come before them. And so then
Right.
you enter into this environment that's different than where you came from, but those people tend to have a lot of judgment from where
Mm,
we came from, even though our backgrounds are different. And then they don't understand either. And so you become this minority within a group that has nothing to do with race and ethnicity, but just lived experience. And I didn't understand at that time that my background was my beauty. Your
ooh,
background
hold on.
is
Your background
your
is
beauty.
your beauty. That's our empower words for this episode.
Your
Yeah, your
background
background
is your beauty.
is your
And I
beauty.
own that now. I own it. I own my hybridized intonation. I spent so many years like, oh, my diction must be perfect and I must talk like this to be taken seriously. And now I'm like, no, I want to find my true voice. This is my true
Yes.
voice. This is who I am. I've lived enough life to like, if I'm not your cup of tea, that's fine. Pour me out. I'm going to be just fine. And you go find the tea you want somewhere else.
Can you say that hybridized diction? Is that what you said?
Intonation.
Intonation. So, did you have to make, and this is just an innocent question, did you have to make an effort to not talk like you talked in Detroit?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry for my naivete, but I've
Absolutely.
only known you like this.
Come on, Reese Witherspoon.
I know, I'm
If
sorry.
you
I'm
had that
sorry.
Alabama, if you talk like this, I think it's totally sweet, but people have ideas
Yeah,
of what that means. If you
you're
talk like
right.
this and you like, it's more of um, it's more of a singy songy type of way. From where I'm from, I can't even do it because it's not my true voice anymore.
Got
But
it.
you hear you learn to speak what you hear and what you're around. You want to know a cool
Mm,
fact? Because I take care of mamas and babies. Babies, when they're born, they have an ability to make any sound. And based on their mother tongue, if they don't hear that particular sound by 8 months, they start to lose that pitch. So that's why
mm,
you can have kids in, say, there are certain African countries where they use their clicks and they can speak that. You have kids in Asian countries where you hear certain words and there's no way in a million years you or I could even pronounce it. But we all have the opportunity when we're younger to be able to speak every single language. But you pick up the diction, the intonation, and the pitch. It's a pitch and a frequency that's very
mhm.
different where I came from than in the environment in which I live in now. So mine is definitely a hybrid, but I don't try anymore. Before I was trying, now I'm like, look, I could care less. But that's a privilege. I've had
Mm.
to really get to a point in life where that's where I am.
Did you? Did you learn that or practice that when you were at Piney Woods, or was that something you did in college? And there's a question here. Let me unearth the point of the question. The point of the question, because at some point in your growth and maturation, you made a decision that that intonation is not what you wanted for yourself. So when did that happen in your growth path? And
I
what
think
was going in your mind in that point?
I think it was the opposite. It wasn't that I didn't want this intonation for my growth path. It's modeling. It's
Mm.
where am I going? Who do I want to be like? What do they sound like? And I'm a singer, so I was born by the river. I can imitate pretty much anything I can hear. And so it was really focusing, like observing, like, okay, this is how they're speaking. These are the words
Mm.
they use. These are the mannerisms. And then I just kind of started to model. And that had more to do with in the environment just wanting to fit in. And it goes the
Got
other
it.
way too. So when people don't understand in certain environments, why would they do that? Why would you wear your pants down your butt? Well, in your environment, that's how you're accepted. In this
Yeah,
environment, you're not. So you don't wear your pants down to your butt, but instead we go out to the grocery store with full makeup.
right. That makes so much sense. Yeah, and I do think there's some consciousness to what your story. There's a consciousness to it because when you said, "Okay, Reese Witherspoon," I was kind of cracking up because I have a friend from Jackson, Mississippi, and my daughters make so much fun of me because anytime I get off the phone with her, I instantly sound like a Southern belle, and I have no idea why it happens. They're like, "Oh, you've been talking to Robin, haven't you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I did it again!" Like I don't even realize I do it, but yours, it's so I love what you said. It's so beautiful and it's quite profound because you've had this incredible path. It's so unlikely where to arrive where you're at, but it's so likely if you know you as a person and you know your character. I'm like, of course it happened this way. Of course it happened this. Of course she's where she's at. Of course she's making the impact she has because I see your true essence. I see your strength and your character and your resilience and your determination and I'm so intrigued by you. And it makes perfect sense to me that you are where you are making the impact you're making. But I guess I have hindsight because I didn't know you back then. I don't know.
You get to see me in like my most vulnerable positions, like when I got food poisoning in the ER. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
One of
that
the
was fun.
embarrassing stories. That was a lot of fun and definitely brought us all closer together. I think what's awesome, Christine, is that the lessons never stop. The integration never ceases if you seek it. That there's always this opportunity to just evolve and blossom. And that's what
Mm,
I'm looking forward to so much. Like, it's not about modeling anymore, it's really about becoming. And that everything that happened set me up for what I'm passionate about today that I'm doing. And so, because of where I came from, because of the experiences, because I know how it impacts children and even communities, I dedicated and chose a field where I take care of women and pregnant folks and making sure that they're healthy and happy and thriving so they can have healthy, happy, thriving babies. And I've given my life to taking care of others, humans, and dogs. I probably live in a doghouse now. But the most recent lesson I had was from my friend. And I told you about her because I was able to be able to be there with you through a particular situation. But a friend of mine who I just lost to endometrial cancer. And it's so sad because endometrial cancer is curative. When we treat
mm,
it early and you get the surgery, you go on with a full life. However, she's Californian, lives out here. It was important to her. She wanted to do the natural route. And unfortunately, she paid her life for it. But on her
mm,
deathbed, she gave me the lesson that I am walking through life now with. And she said to me, can we talk about boys, first of all? Can we talk about boys?
Of course.
Okay.
Are you asking permission to talk about boys?
Yeah, because
Yes.
I'm on your podcast. I want to know, like, can we talk about boys?
We talk about
So
whatever we want because we're girls out of order, damn it.
that's right. We're going all over the place. I love it. And my bangs keep getting in my face. Um, I was dating this guy, and we went to Unleash the Power Within. And when we got back, I went to go see my friend who passed away. I'll say her name actually, Darlene, because I think when you speak the dead, they stay alive, right? So I went to
Yes.
go see Darlene, and he came by too. And she said, she's amazing. Don't hurt my friend, love her. And, he said, oh, yeah, she's this, she's that, whatever. A couple of weeks later, I go see her, and she's like, oh, what happened to his name? And I shared with her, I was like, I found out some things, some indiscretions, and yeah, I'm just kind of on a break. And she says, no, you're done.
Mm.
And I said, what do you mean? She's like, no, you're done. He doesn't value you. He can't see the gift that you are. And I said, yeah, I don't think we're getting back together, like, but we live in the same town and we can be friends, right? And she said, he hasn't been a friend. And she said, promise me, Ren, promise me. She looked at me. She said, promise me you will not go back to him. Promise me you will not give him the time of day. And I gave her
Mm.
every scenario, like, wait, we can't just like hang out sometimes. Like, I don't want to marry him. And she's like giving me a reason. And I don't make promises unless I can keep them. So as we're having this kind of back and forth, because I just want to make sure if I'm going to make this promise, I can keep it. She says to me, she looks at me and she says, you are not a stray.
Ooh.
I was like, what? And she looked at me and she
Mm.
said, honey, you're not a stray. You take in all the dogs, they come to your house, you find them, you pick them up off the street, you feed them, you love them. And she said, for the dogs, that's fine. I want you to keep doing that. But for human beings, you don't need to go out anymore because there are two types of strays. There are the strays that are lost. And she said, you're not lost. And then there are the strays that are looking for something.
Oof. Yeah.
You are neither. And we're no longer looking and accepting these crumbs. You
Mm-hmm.
are a full package. You are not a stray. You can take in the dogs, but you can no longer take in humans that are strays either. But I knew about the human part. I knew about the dog part. Like, oh, I'll give people so many chances and I'll give dogs a million chances. But I hadn't seen the light shined on me. And when she said that, I just
Mm.
started crying and I was just like, I can't believe we're talking about this. Like, we're supposed to be talking about you. And she's on her deathbed. She's in the hospital and she's having this conversation with me. And she said, promise me. And I said, I promise. And I've kept that promise. But that was such a rude awakening and the gift she gave me before
Yeah.
she left this world, and that I am not a stray. But from my beginnings, I've been moving all around. And now I'm starting to settle into the woman that I am, the woman that I'm continuing to evolve into. And that woman is not a stray, unconsciously.
Amen. Amen to that. Okay, Ren. Whoo, emotional. I think you're speaking to so many women who need to hear that message because they are moving through life as if they are astray. They are settling. They're contorting themselves to fit molds they weren't designed for. They're sacrificing their values for acceptance. And so it's so powerful. And what I really want our listeners to understand, like, I am talking to a Harvard trained OBGYN badass, head of an incredible nonprofit we're going to get to. And she's still a human being, having a human experience, making human mistakes, and having a human evolution before your very eyes. We've only known each other for just under 12 months, and I've already seen iterations of this incredible person, because that's the message I want you to hear from Dr. Ren's story, is that we all have stories that are evolving and that are being rewritten. Your story isn't written. You aren't finished. Your tapestry is not complete. You get to change it. You get to mold it. You get to shape it. You get to rewrite it. And this woman before you, just in the last month, has already started to rewrite parts of her story. So all the degrees on the wall don't define her worth. What defines her worth is her. And I hope that you hear that through this incredible story, because I want you to hear, oh, sorry, whew, got a little preachy there. Coming
Oh,
on down off my
I
pulpit.
love it.
But I
Very
wanted,
spoon, by the way, with it.
well, I should be wearing my hot pink. And then we should have coordinated, but blue's good for today. But no, I was thinking though, trying to drawing sort of a through line through your life, because I know your story and not all of your story needs to be told today, but there's a through line of your story of, acceptance of others and their seeing their worth and elevating their worth. But it's incredible how I'm seeing you now starting to do that for you, because it's not a given. So when you see somebody doing great things for other people, don't assume they've got it all together, because we are a work in progress, right?
A blossoming flower that sometimes all the petals have to fall off, but those roots are still there and we continue to grow and blossom. Yeah, I when I think I've arrived, you never arrive. It's
There's
just
always another
now,
level.
it's always another level. It's like, oh, I passed that level. Now we're at the next level. And sometimes
Yeah.
I go backwards, but I love that people put all these stickies on you, like, oh, you're Harvard, oh, you're this, oh, you're that. And I say, yeah, if you want to work with me, that tells you about my work ethic. It tells you about my resilience. It tells you about where my passion lies. At the
Hmm.
end of the day, I'm a soul. I'm a human being. Um, I laugh, I cry. I have all the human experiences and emotions that, anyone would have. But I know I'm blessed. And if I can share another story, is that okay? It
Yeah,
happened
I would love that.
yesterday. This is where evolution comes in. Yesterday, I went to the dollar store. Look, don't judge me. I still go to the dollar store. They have the best balloons. There's one in the background for my mom. Her birthday is in 2 days, and she's flying in today. And I went to go get her a balloon from the dollar store and a card.
Just so you know, I always go to the now $1.25 store. Thank you, inflation. I always go there for balloons. So why would anybody judge you? That's just good. That's just good use of your money, girl.
That's our hack. If you're not going to the $1.25 store, then you just got something from this. The $1.25 store. Great cards, great balloons.
Great wrapping paper, tissue paper. I mean, all the things. Yeah.
Oh, and the gift bags are great too. And they have great little dog toys and stuff. I got Felix a little bowl from there. But I
Yeah.
digress because we're out of order, and that's fine. So I'm there. I pay for these balloons, and it's always a long line. I don't know if it's a long line at
Mhm.
yours, but at mine, it's always a long line. So I stand through this line. I get to the front, and you have to like pick out the balloons first, pay for them, then they'll blow them up. So I asked the lady, I said, do you have the 7 and the 0? Because my mom's turning 70. And she's like, no, we don't have the 7 and we don't have the 0. I don't think we have those. And I said, can you check? She's, I know, we don't have them. I said, okay, fine. I'll just take these 3. So she rings me up. I go over and stand by the helium. And all I hear is security on all aisles, security on all aisles. We have a lot of homeless people or houseless people. I'm in the Bay that go in there. So this gentleman, I watch him. He's going to take care of the situation. This woman leaves her post and goes, and all I hear is just agitation. This lady's like, don't put your hands on me. And she has mental health issues. So she's leaving, but she's throwing stuff. They're calling, all 3 of them are calling 911, and I patiently wait. Now, I am dressed like a dog mom who just rescued a dog with boots on, and I got bit. So I've got my hands all wrapped up and I got little rain boots on and just not these clothes, okay? But I did not look like I was houseless. And I've been going to this same store for 5 years, so I know most people. She happens to be new. So I said, "Oh, excuse me, can you help me with my balloons?" And she comes over and I said, "Oh, they do have a 7." "Well, you're gonna have to just go stand back in line." And I said, "Why do I have to stand back in line? Like, the line's long. I waited 10 minutes for you to just deal with that situation. Why can't I just ring it up like now?" "No, you need to stand in line. That is the rule." I said, "Forget it. That's okay. I don't want the balloon. Can you just blow up the ones I have?" So she's about to blow up the balloon and she says, "I'll be back. I got to go clean up this glass." But there are 3 other people working. And I said, "Ma'am, I paid. I'm just trying to leave." "Well, you're just going to have to wait. Da, 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 da." And she's just
Ooh,
displacing.
ooh.
And I said to her, I said, I don't appreciate the projection. I don't appreciate the displacement. I'm a paying customer. I have come here for over 5 years. I would like your manager's information. I understand that was difficult, but I'm not that. And this guy comes over and I was like, "As a matter of fact, I don't want any of this. I just want a refund." So I get a refund. I ask him to write the name down and then I leave and I go on about my day without any balloons. And then I
Mm,
go see I call him my Starbucks boyfriend. He's a houseless guy who's always at Starbucks in the evening. And he was in tech up here and they laid a lot of people off, but now he's just living in his car. And he's pretty philosophical.
wow.
He's always teaching me stuff, right? So I sit
Mm.
down and I'm having a conversation with him and he shares with me because I was just like, "Yeah, I just hate it sometimes." Because he tried to tell me, he said, "Yeah, you're different. You're not really black."
Hmm.
And I said, "Why is that? What does that mean? I'm not black." I was like, "I'm black. Let me tell you. I'm grandparents from Arkansas, Jim Crow. I can go through the whole thing, like DNA. I'm black." He says, "Yeah, but you're not really black." And I said, "But what does that mean? You're saying I'm not black enough?" Like, he said, "You know what I mean? Because even black people would say you're not black enough."
Ooh.
And I said, "I don't know if that's true. What?" I said, "You're Vietnamese, right?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Do you eat dogs?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Then you're not Vietnamese." He's like, "What do?" I said, "Do you, that's ignorant, right? Like, I don't believe that. That's not what makes you Vietnamese. What makes you Vietnamese? You have a country that you can claim that you came from Vietnam. You are here in the United States. That's what makes you Vietnamese. People in Vietnam might say something different. There are subcultures within Vietnamese cultures, and there are subcultures within Black cultures. But you can't tell me that I'm not Black enough. Maybe a Black person can tell me that, but most Black people aren't going to say that to me. There's just a different subculture that would. So we had this entire conversation. And I said, he starts to share with me the timeline of, he's like, in Vietnam for 100 years, we were colonized by the French. I didn't know that, actually. Did you know that?
I think I did.
I didn't know that. And I was like, "Huh, I didn't know that." And then he said, and then during the war, people had to eat, you know what catfish ate? They ate our poop, and then they had to eat it, and then the dogs ate the poop, and that was the only thing to eat, blah, 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 blah. So he's telling me this whole story about how people started eating dogs. So then I said, "Oh, well, these are different." I said, just imagine we were brought from Africa across the ocean. 30% made it off those ships. And then for 400 years, we were enslaved. And then we had separate but equal. And we're talking 1965. My mom's 70. She was born at that time. 1965, Civil Rights Act passed. And it was my grandfather who made the decision to come from Arkansas to the north to work in the automotive industry in Flint, Michigan, that gave his children, my mom, her sister, and her brother, an opportunity to just have regular jobs. And then I'm the first generation that was afforded an opportunity to have an education. So if blackness to you means X, Y, and Z, I'm going to help you understand that Blackness is not a monolith, and I'm Black. And whether you think I'm Black enough or not, I still go into places like the dollar store and I have someone treat me like either I'm, you know, not a paying patron and treat me in a certain way that I always have to ask, well, is it because she just had a bad day, or is it because of this, because of that? And then he schooled me, right?
He schooled you. Hold on. He schooled you?
He schooled
Who?
me. I schooled
Oh, I'm
him.
waiting.
Like, he finally got the like Blackness and the conversation and how it's an ignorant conversation to have. And like, I just won't engage in that kind of conversation, even though I
Yeah.
understand what he's saying. But that sets a precedence that there is a definition of Blackness and it just isn't. We're not a monolith. But what he said to me about the lady, he said, he took his little water bottle and he said, and I said, why are you doing that? He said, because that's what you need to do to yourself. I said, what do you mean? He said, life is too short. And that lady, can you imagine? He's like, I've been over there. Do you know how many people throughout a day, how many mentally ill people come through
Mm.
there? She has to stand on her feet for 10 hours. She works at the dollar store. She doesn't make anything. And he said she was wrong, but he said, you're the one who's educated. You're the one
Ooh.
who's the doctor. And you let her steal your joy in
Mhm.
a dollar store. Whoa!
That sounds like a stray to me.
Whoa! I was like,
Mm.
I cannot imagine this woman had to be between 50 and 65,
Yeah.
working at a store where everything's $1.25
Mm.
every day. I mean, the houseless people literally sit outside of the dollar store and ask us to bring them things. And then this just happened and escalated for her that she had to deal with. And here I am, like, I was patient to a point. But then I was like, no, you're not going to pick up glass. Can you please? I've been waiting for 10 minutes. Can we just get
Which
my
is
book?
perfectly reasonable, but there's a deeper meaning here.
It's a huge deeper region. Like, I wasted even more time when I was like, you know what, forget it. I just want a refund. I'll go somewhere where I can get better customer service. And that let me get out of state. That
Mhm.
allowed me to lower my own vibration, where even though the way she handled it probably wasn't the best way, I had an opportunity to really stand in my
Mm.
own grace and stand in my own beauty. And I let the environment shift me.
Absolutely. And that was so, oh my gosh, there's so many layers there because, oh, girl, you are speaking to me. I've talked a lot with my daughters who are now, my last one's almost 18, about things I would do differently if I could go back. And this last week, I've talked to you about the challenges that my youngest daughter's having, and I'm feeling this mama energy just like sucked out of me. I'm tired, I'm harried, I'm frenzied, taking care of her boyfriend's puppy, blah, 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 blah. And I'm feeling that harriedness, that state of like that's not really a word, but just like frustration is always right there, ready to boil over. And I had told my daughters what I could wish I could go back and do is go back when I had 642 and brand new and see the beauty.
642 brand new. I love
Yeah,
it.
it was a crazy ass life. You should have seen us going to a Target. It was a total spectacle. They're all yours. Your poor husband, 4 daughters. Yeah, because that's really like horrible, right? But I
Or
was
did they ask you,
so,
are you going to try again for a boy?
"Oh, are you trying for boy?" Yeah, because I'm not complete. I know. Yeah. I love my life. And I wish I could go back. Obviously, we can't, but there are things that we learn from. And the thing I learned from that is like, I didn't appreciate, and I get it. Mamas have their unique challenges, but I don't want to be that woman who is always ready to pounce or crack or snap. Because not only is it unkind and unloving, but it changes me. And it sounds to me like this moment with this houseless man outside of Starbucks, he helped you see that even in all of the things that you've accomplished and are doing and are growing, like there's always room to still grow, and ask yourself, am I living in a state that is honoring to me and in alignment with my values and my creator? And it's okay to make mistakes, but then I have to ask, because I saw the balloon in your house. Did you go back and get a balloon? What'd you
Yeah,
do?
I
I
did
want to
go.
know. I want to know.
When he said that, remember when Tony says, what else could this mean? Had I
Yes.
just asked that question in that moment, what else could this mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was who I wanted to be in the moment where the disgruntled woman was
Mm-hmm.
having her whole like show for the whole audience in the store to see. And I was fine waiting, gracefully waiting. It was the trigger of this woman just treated me like I'm nothing, made some
Mm.
assumptions, and that I am not worth her time right now. Right? That's what I labeled it all in 2 seconds. Like that
Right.
feeling of whether warranted or not, that living in this body, in this skin, in this world that I have experienced many times over. In that moment, that's what transformed. I will go somewhere where I am respected and I can get customer service. I live in this environment. This is my community. I got self-righteous
You
too.
got uppity. You got uppity.
I got pretty uppity. Like I pay property taxes and how dare you treat me this way? And I've been here for 5 years. Had I taken the moment and said, what else could this mean? And then put a different lens on it. What does this look like from her perspective? What is
Mm.
God's perspective? What is the person over there's perspective? How else can I deal with this? And so as I sat with what he told me, I went back to the store and she was still there. I was
Oof.
like, yes. And she saw me and I saw her and I was like, I smiled and she was very caught off guard by that. Because when
Mhm.
I left, I had asked for the manager. I wanted her name. I was going to write Dollar Tree. A whole waste of energy and time. Took a homeless, I call him my Starbucks boyfriend. My Starbucks boyfriend had to tell me,
Mm.
life is too short. You don't have, for what? A balloon? I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So she was there, and I said, I want to apologize. I cannot imagine what you must go through every day working here. And you're still here.
Mm.
I really wish that it would have come off differently and we would have a different experience. But hi, I'm Ren. I live here. I've been coming to this store. You're new. I know your name is Marie. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I'm sorry. It was just so much going on and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I know. And, again, I just want to apologize. And I hope that we can start again. And she's like, I like that. So I said, I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to bring my mom when she gets here because she loves to get candy and stuff from the dollar store when she comes to visit. And I said, I would be honored to introduce her to you. And I think that story is also that we're not perfect. We will continue to have human experiences. And sometimes
Mm.
we do get to go back. Other times you don't, but
Yeah.
sometimes you will get an opportunity to go back. And how do you own your part? And it doesn't matter if they own it or not. It's just how am I standing in my own truth and living with the integrity and the woman that I have set for myself.
I love that so, so, so much. And I've done that. That's interesting to say. So you're smiling because I'm like, I've done that over the years where I've been like, all right, this is
There's
not the
the
story.
balloon.
Where's the balloon? I can't see it.
Look,
Oh, there it is.
yeah, it's over there. There's the balloon and the camera looking at little Felix and all the little toys.
I love it. I love it. But I have done that in the past where I've made a decision like, this isn't the story I want to write in this moment. Who do I want to be? Who do I want to show up? What impact do I want to make? What example do I want to set? And in that moment, Ren, I know you changed that woman's life. And that is such a powerful meaning for the life you and I choose to live, because we do have very aligned values. And so, in the time that we have left, I want to use that beautiful story to switch gears, because I want you to tell our audience about what you do at Momentum Park and the Sheroes, because it is such an incredible mission, and I really want you to share.
So I am Dr. Renaisa Anthony. I'm a physician by training, public health practitioner by passion, and I am just the humbled founder of Momentum Park, where moms come first and every moment matters. We basically take medicine, public health, and prioritize technology to meet mamas exactly where they are in the communities, on their cell phones, social media, and then directly in the community. And how we do that is through our Sheroes. I truly believe that it takes a sisterhood to support mamas and babies. You are a mom of one, two, three, four girls. And
Mhm.
any of my mamas out there know when you're pregnant, it can be pretty isolating. It can be a lot of different things are happening in your life. And so through our Shero squads and our sisterhood, we support mamas from our squads to our moms, and then our moms start to support each other. And it really kind of is turning and amorphosizing into this just this sweet collective. Like we just had a mommy's night out in New Orleans. I was down there for our Shiro Nola, and the moms came. We had diapers and stuff for them, but they came with diapers and they came with like formula. And I said, "Where'd this come
Mm.
from?" They're like, "Oh, my baby outgrew these," and so they're starting to share resources. They're sharing lactation stories. They're learning from each other, and the idea came from. Let me show you. Give me one moment. She's always with me. That's my grandma.
Oh.
So my grandmother, my great grandmother, I was born to do this work. My great grandmother was a birthing woman in Arkansas, equivalent to a midwife, but Black people and women could not have babies in hospitals. So
Ugh.
we had birthing women, and my great grandmother was the birthing woman, and she brought life into the world. My grandmother was the first nurse's aide in the integrated hospitals. And then my maternal aunt, which is her daughter, not my mom, but my mom's sister, my aunt, she's the first labor and delivery nurse, and I'm the first doctor in this space. And my grandmother said to me once, she knows how passionate I am about the US maternal mortality challenges that we have, where
Mhm.
Black women disproportionately are dying during pregnancy and our babies as well. And she said to me in her very Arkansan way, she said, I don't know why everybody dying. We weren't dying like that, and we ain't even have hospitals. And I said, well, why do you think that is, Grandma? And she said, because when you was pregnant, you was everybody's pregnant woman.
Ooh.
She said, my mama used to tell me to go down there and Miss Johnson pregnant, going down there and take these greens to her. She sent her brothers to cut the grass. It was the community's pregnant woman. It was the community's baby. And that's the model I use because I said, I've done the medicine. I know that we're giving great care. I don't think my colleagues are waking up and saying, hey, let's kill a Black lady today. That's not happening. It's
Mm.
where's the social support? Where's the sisterhood? And where is the community? And so we're creating this kind of beauty that just ripples and ripples and ripples and supports moms. So we do prenatal, postpartum, and social support. We pair our moms with a pod, so they have other moms that they're with. They're in their group me's, they're on social media. We have events in the community. We do education. We give them doula care, midwife care. We do all the things that a mom needs, and it's individualized and tailored to her and her cohort. And basically, we just love on moms through pregnancy safely into parenthood.
I love that so much. You are such a gift. And when you said that it was everybody's pregnancy, I felt like this lump in my throat Oh, because I was part of a church. And so at the time, a lot of us were stay at home moms. And so I didn't feel like super isolated. But then but it was nothing like what you're describing. And I saw my sister in law go through pregnancies, and she didn't have that community. And the level of, she didn't have the challenges of being, a Black woman, that didn't have, but she did have the challenges of being isolated, and the level of depression and fear and anxiety, and then postpartum depression and isolation even more, is profound. And then she had the added thing of having a baby in the middle of COVID, which was obviously even extra awful. But I want to honor you, because you have taken your story, and there's just so many more things we could unpack. And I'm definitely going to have you back, because I already have an idea for another episode.
This would take forever to go through the whole story. We can talk about
There's
the
so
story I'm writing.
Right, because here's the thing. Our stories are they're not a straight line, they're zigzag, they're curly cues, they're infinity signs, they're ups and downs and rainbows and sunshine and daisies and dark places, and they're all over the place. And you've taken your story and what could have been written as a tragedy, and you've made it, it's not about triumph. You've made it so meaningful, and you're taking your life force and you're pouring it out, and you're pouring it into others. And I'm going to tell this one last little story before we wrap up, because you cracked me up at Own Your Worth. What do you call yourself? You're the vagina something.
The Vagina
Oh, there
Warrior.
it is. You're the vagina warrior. And I was cracking up because I was at your round table. I would have literally, like, I would have knocked a bitch down to get to your table. There was no way I was not getting to your table. And it was so funny, because whether you're teaching, or you're creating community for disenfranchised women who are pregnant, or you're teaching a 50, at the time, 53, 52-year-old woman how to touch her own vagina. Yeah, we can say that word on this podcast. Like, how to connect with her body. The vagina is just a symbol of connecting to our bodies and feeling at home in our bodies. You have given so many women gifts that you will only know about when you get to heaven, and you can't lift your crown and put it on your head, my friend.
We will help each other lift our crowns.
Amen to that. And so when I said to you in the Dominican Republic that I will be your in case of emergency, like, it was an easy yes, because you're my community. And we grew up very differently. We look very different, but we are so aligned and have such, in my opinion, such similar passions to help women live the most compelling life they possibly can. And I'm so grateful for you and your friendship. I really am. I have one last question for you. Oh, you love me. Say it out loud. I didn't
Sisters,
hear you.
I love you. I asked you, what are we doing for our 1 year galaversary? When I
Oh my gosh. Girl, I bought a sequined prom-like dress for the gala at our Own It conference. I haven't dressed like that since freaking high school. I'm so excited. So maybe you and I can do a photo shoot. We'll
I love it. I'm
document.
gonna wear, I'm all about the onesie, so I've got a sequin onesie too.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. All right. So as we wrap up, I'm going to ask you a question I ask all my guests. I shamelessly ripped it off from Jen Hatmaker, this podcaster that I love. And it's a question by Barbara Brown Taylor, who's a poet. And you can answer it any way that you want. You can answer it funny, you can answer it serious, but just don't think about it. Just say whatever comes to your mind. So as we sit here today in February of 2025, what is saving your life right now?
King Louis, Princess Rebecca, Sir Cooperton, and baby Felix.
Despite the bites, your dogs.
I have multiple stories, multiple chances. This little boy deserves multiple chances too. I got it right. He'll get it right too. And I can't wait to share his story. But right now, that's that's where I am. And I get two.
Oh, you can have as
Countdown,
many as you want, girl.
countdown, countdown to own it. Own it.
Yay!
I'm
Own
bringing
it.
my mamas. I'm bringing part of my team. I'm bringing my friends. We're all coming to Vegas, and I can't wait for them to meet you and the rest of our TLC sisters. It's going to be awesome. I'm just getting Mr. Felix together, and every day, it's been 4 days now, every day he gives me little snippets and gifts of the light that's starting to come alive in his eyes. And that's,
I love
yep.
that. I love that. I said I was going to wrap up, but I just want to highlight one thing you said because it just touched my heart. Like my heart just started beating faster. You said that it's only been 4 days and the light is already starting to come alive in his eyes. And I will tell you, friend, that that is what you do for others. And you have allowed me, I think, in some small way to do that for you. And that's what sisterhood is about.
That it is. My
I
mom's
love
gonna
you.
she's gonna say, "Why didn't you say me? And it's my birthday, and I'm coming to see you." You said don't think about it. I said I didn't think about it, Mom. You know I'm a fur mom. My babies need me, uh, but my mom's coming too. So I look forward to celebrating her 70th birthday and giving her flowers while she's here. We can have a whole nother conversation at another time about mother
Mm.
daughter relationships. But
Oh,
again, it's
yeah.
every lesson that I've learned, stepping in to love her where she is, how she is, and just grateful
And
that
who
she's
she
alive.
is. And who she is. Yeah. My mom is no longer here. So soak up every moment. I love you.
Love you too. I'll see you soon.